Hey, we had the new parts come through from the factory. We'll get them on the car ahead of FP1.
Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to the episode of my F1 2018 career mode, episode number 155 today for the French Grand Prix in Season 8. If you guys did miss the previous one, the Canadian Grand Prix, then be sure to go check the one out before you see this one, because a literal sparks flew at Montreal, so it was a very intriguing and fun episode, to say the least, maybe up until the sparks started to fly. It's a bit too much of a spoiler if you've not seen it yet, but definitely go do so. But we go here to Paul Ricard then, and hoping for a solid Grand Prix really compared to the last one, I guess, and trying to obviously get points on Fernando Alonso now. It's been a few episodes since we've been able to take points off him. We really need to start doing that just for the sake of, stopping that momentum he's got. And obviously we come to Paul Ricard with 2 aero upgrades, so our aero department now is completely maxed out on that side of the R&D tree, so that's very, very good. And coming to this episode, following the Canadian Grand Prix, of course, we had an agreement with Alfa Romeo, because they obviously took over our team in Season 8. They promised us an extra 1,000 resource points if we got a win by the Canadian Grand Prix. Of course, we did that. We got 2 wins in a row, actually, Azerbaijan and then the Spanish Grand Prix, so we can get those 1,000 points here at the very beginning of the episode, and so we can use those quite well to upgrade the chassis side, the remaining kind of performance upgrades of our car after this race at France. So we're going to go straight into it then, into qualifying, and trying to do the best job we can at getting up the order. Last time out, we had a bit of a tricky time. The one-lap pace wasn't quite there compared to the race pace, clearly, because myself and Leclerc were making a lot of moves in the race there at Montreal. So hopefully we can have some good one-lap pace here around Paul Ricard, getting into the flow of this circuit. One of those circuits where at the start of the game cycle, I really didn't think I was going to like it, but now I really, really enjoy it. Probably one of my favourite circuits, actually, to lap over one lap in qualifying, because it is such a flowing circuit, really. Once you get into the rhythm and the groove of it, I guess you could say, left and right, very quick, sharp movements here, and the car always feels, no matter what the downforce level, is a little bit unbalanced, but in kind of a good way, of like you're literally dancing the car around the sectors basically, and around all the kind of sharp 90-degree corners and all the chicanes here at Paul Ricard. So we come through then our second flying lap. Our first one has only been good enough to get us P7 at the moment. I believe my teammate Leclerc is right up there at the sharp end, so we're going to have to watch out and hopefully improve by a decent amount. We have done so on the top right. You can see a lot of time found on this second flying lap on another set of ultra soft tyres. So we go to the line, across it, and we're into P2, and right now to 1-2 for Alfa Romeo Racing there, with Leclerc on pole position, and he finishes up in pole position. But sadly, I'm all the way down to P8 then by the end of the session, because everyone improved their times, but actually not by that much. You can see there the gap to from Leclerc to myself is only just about over 3/10 there, and that would have been the difference between P1 and like P3 at Canada last episode. But Paul Ricard, it's been so much closer in qualifying, so 3/10 is instead the difference between P1 and P8 instead. So you can see the nice difference track to track. Canada a bit more spread out. There was a 1-second gap from myself to pole at Canada, and we've ended up in the same kind of position here at France, but there's only a 3/10 gap to pole. So very, very odd. I mean, kudos to my teammate for getting the first pole for Alfa Romeo Racing then here in this brand new season, but a little bit gutted I couldn't kind of join him near there. And 3/10, I don't know if that was on the table for me, to be honest. I felt like my second flying lap there was as good as it could have got, so I don't know what to really say about that. So we'll see how it goes in the race. There might be some rain involved on Sunday, so we'll see about that. So let's just go into Sunday and make the most of it, I guess. At least we know that our car's capable of having some pole position time pace, so I think there's more to find maybe in the race. Let's get into it.
Hello and welcome to the Circuit Paul Ricard, current home of the French Grand Prix, an event dating all the way back to 1906. It's been held at many venues over the years, with famous moments from Dijon and MONACO the feature of many a highlights reel. And let's hope we see more of those in the race today. 6 lefts and 9 rights give us a total of 15 corners here at the Circuit Paul Ricard, and a lap covers an overall distance of 3.6 miles. Average speeds will be somewhere in the region of 142 miles per hour, and they'll be maxing out on the Mistral Straight at around 205 miles per hour. Anthony Davidson joins me again for the race today. Let's talk about the engineer. That was a solid result in their last race. Can they keep that momentum going this weekend?
It's always nice to come into a Grand Prix weekend on a high, but your expectations are based much more on your practice and qualifying runs.
And so now let's have a look at the starting grid ahead of this French Grand Prix for Season 8 of my F1 2018 career mode. On pole position then is my teammate Charles Leclerc in the Alfa Romeo racing car on pole. Alongside him on the front row is Fernando Alonso, my championship rival. Max Verstappen P3, Pierre Gasly in P4, Lewis Hamilton in P5 alongside the Spaniard Carlos Sainz, then Hulkenberg and myself. The next row is all Ferrari with Vettel and Ocon, with Ricciardo and Sorokin next. Then Brendan Hartley, Kevin Magnussen, Valtteri Bottas and Sergio Perez in the two Force Indy cars, with Romain Grosjean on P17, Lance Stroll on 18th place, and Raikkonen and Van Dorn round out the grid for the French Grand Prix. Right, so here we are then, sports fans, in P8, and we're in a car that is capable to be on pole position, so I think there's more potential in this for a good race ahead of us there. Strategy-wise, a two-stop. You can see the rain is forecast to come later, though, so we're going to change the two-stop around a little bit and include the soft tyre in the middle, and that allows us to move away from a two-stop into an effective one-stop on the slicks, and then the second stop being the one onto intermediate tyres if and when it rains. But with the two icons there for rain, it should pretty much be guaranteed it is going to come down at the end of this Grand Prix. So going onto the soft tyres and attempting to do a one-stop on this slick. So here we go then to 5 red lights to the French Grand Prix here at Paul Ricard. 5 red lights are out, and we're on the way. Initially a good getaway, but then bogging down quite a fair bit in second and third gear, and into turn 1, the Ferrari car, Sebastian Vettel's overtaken as Ocon also right there for the taking. We go down the inside, though, of Vettel and Hulkenberg, the two Germans there, threading the car through like a needle. Very close stuff there. Quite lucky to actually make that work. I couldn't actually quite remember and see what happened to Hulkenberg there. I think he got kind of just squeezed out by Carlos Sainz, and the battle that's going on with Gasly and Hamilton as Gasly squeezes off Hamilton and gets the position as we go around the outside of the other man in the Red Bull Honda car, the Spaniard Carlos Sainz. We're unable to get the move around the outside there, unsurprisingly, to be fair, because it's a very off-camber corner and very awkward. But now we build up the speed, the slipstream overtake mode on ERS with Rich Base going round the outside there, braking as late as we dare, and just about managed to make it around the outside there. Nearly made some contact as we left it quite late to cut in there. But we're up into P6. We try and break the slipstream and the toe on the right hand side, then cut back to the racing line and swoop in for that flat out right hander, even on heavy fuel, nearly just about flat out on the right hander with the Season 8 levels of downforce there. And we move on then later into this Grand Prix. Gasly now making moves on the other Mercedes car of Max Verstappen. He's already overtaken Hamilton. Now he's going for the Dutchman, Verstappen in P3. It's still Charles Leclerc, my teammate, that leads the way in first place from Fernando Alonso there, and Verstappen for now is in P3. And we're now getting away from Carlos Sainz and catching up to this top pack here and trying to get amongst it. As you can see, a clear battle forming, and Gasly with a really nice move down the inside of Verstappen there. And will Verstappen come back at all? No, he won't. And so it is a fantastic move actually from the Frenchman. And remember, his home Grand Prix obviously, so spurred on by the home fans maybe. And he's up into P3. Verstappen down to P4, and Hamilton close behind, as well as myself, as we cut back through the replay cameras on board with this very lovely artistic shot there. And you can see we're right up the top of Hamilton. So hopefully on this next lap onto the DRS straight, maybe we could make a move on Hamilton, our fellow countryman, and try and get up into the top 6 fight. And we are very much in the DRS range, but maybe not the best exit through this right-hander, and Hamilton has got a lot of good speed there. And on the exit, he might look likely to make a move on Verstappen. Instead, we've got yellow flags later on in Sector 1 there in the minimap. You can see further away from us, but there goes Hamilton now with a move around the outside of Verstappen. Will Verstappen have anything to defend? Doesn't look like it there. It looks like Verstappen's just going backwards and backwards. Mercedes car with not too much race pace then in the Grand Prix compared to the qualifying pace over 1 lap for the Dutchman. So now can we try and maybe make a pop and overtake him and catch him napping somewhat as we stick on board here through the right-hander into Sector 3. Now might be very tricky to make a move, Ben. We have a little bit of a half look there, but we actually end up just going wide, and so mistiming the kind of swing through there on the braking. It's a little bit awkward, you know. Once you get it wrong, the 1 second instance you get it wrong on the entry, you got the entire corner wrong pretty much, and you have to just make up for it on the next one. So we'll try and cut back in and stay with Verstappen then onto lap 7 then instead. But no, now we've got the full safety car, so probably not sticking with Verstappen for another lap. We're probably going to come in now for a pit stop, because we were going to probably come in on the next lap or 2 maybe for the soft tyres. We're now going to come in on lap 7. Everyone dives in, so it's going to be a double stack unfortunately here with my teammate Leclerc, but the same will be said for the Renault guys of Alonso and Hamilton. And in fact, actually Hamilton gets held up so much here that I have to just about make it through there. Ghosting system as maybe by a millimetre, technically my tyre went through his tyre. But we make the pit stop, then you can see a little bit of a delay on the mechanics because they made the pit stop on Leclerc already under the safety car. So interesting times then. So effectively everyone gets a free pit stop. We've actually jumped Hamilton because he got held up by Alonso. So a free overtake then for us as we come out in P6, and it's now down to P7 as Grosjean just goes right through me then. I don't know how that's actually allowed, but there you go. He's gone right through me. And so on the restart, we're in P7 instead, looking at P6. Romain Grosjean there, right up the chuff. You can see how eager I am to get going here. So a free pit stop for everyone, and onto soft tyres that hopefully will go on to the end of the slick tyre period and onto the intermediates then, because it's already getting quite overcast. You can see there on the right hand side the clouds coming through. But here we go now for a very early move down the inside of turn 1. Nice move, book that in early, and we've got Grosjean in our back pocket. Meanwhile now we've got some fighting going on down the main straight. You've got the McLaren there of Hartley, who's out of sync of this Grand Prix, being overtaken and bullied off the circuit by the Mercedes and the Red Bull Honda there. So Hartley obviously has not made a pit stop on the safety car, so he's on the same tyres that he started the Grand Prix on, I believe. So hopefully we can catch up to him straight away now on this next right-hander and just overtake him straight away. We're going to come through with full commitment down the inside there. Big dive bomb there. And like the Red Bull and Mercedes, I can't lie, we just kind of bully him off that corner down the inside there. And we're up into P5 now. So we chase after Gasly, who's being held up by the Merc. And then Alonso, you can see in the minimap there, in second place. He's actually nearer to the Mercedes car than he is to Leclerc. Leclerc's gone away massively from Alonso there. So a fantastic restart is actually for my teammate. And so now we move on later, a few laps later into this Grand Prix, and Gasly on the back of the Mercedes car around the outside there, and he'll have a very easy time of it actually there. So once again, Gasly maybe taking some energy from the home crowd to make that move seem pretty damn simple. And so now can we maybe overtake the Mercedes car? Maybe not, because it looks like the Merc has enough speed. Actually, look at that, down the back straight to the inside of that right-hander. Verstappen back through there. I didn't think he was going to have the speed there, but he just somehow found the extra speed in 8th gear and made it work and caught Gasly maybe napping a little bit. So Gasly once again is back behind Verstappen there, the two former Red Bull teammates, remember. Obviously Verstappen moving to Mercedes for this year, so we move on to lap 11. Gasly again goes round the outside on the right hand side, and this time can we try and join and follow through Gasly and catch Verstappen napping? It's a bad lock off for Gasly, but we go through and follow him, and we're up into P4 now. We're going to try and break the toe and keep that P4 and not allow Verstappen to do what he did on Gasly and maintain this position just outside the podium places. And now we can get a move on maybe and try and stay with Gasly and overtake him, and then the hope is eventually use that clean air to try and catch up to Alonso, because remember Alonso of course is our championship rival. So at this stage, if it was to end like this, he would be gaining more points on us once again in the championship, which is just not very ideal because he's already got a fair amount of points in this championship. So here we go now on lap 12. DRS wide open there, a lot of overspeed, and we made the move, and we just about stay on circuit there. Went very hot into that left-hander there, and Italy almost went off circuit, but we just about held it in. But Gasly is going to stick with us here, and he's going to have a look on the left-hand side. He's going to get a nose in there. The proximity arrow goes red. Last episode it ended in misery and tears for both of us when we got that close together, but thankfully this time round, early on in this French Grand Prix, no such contact is made. But Gasly does come down the inside with a very surprising move. We've gone too wide and too slow on that right-hander, and Gasly, has to be fair to him, made a fantastic move there. We tried to squeeze him off on the next left-hander, hasn't worked out. He's kept his foot in there, and Gasly, to be fair, has made a fantastic move. And now Verstappen comes out of nowhere. We're being swamped here in Sector 3. It's been a horrendous Sector 3 for me, and I've been hounded and hustled, and we're back down to P4, unfortunately. Verstappen is now right up my chuff, and that is not exactly what I wanted to happen on that lap. So now to lap 13, the following lap, we're going to have to try and re-overtake Gasly then, and basically redo the job we did, and try and finish the job we didn't finish earlier, and try and, make the overtake stick, basically, once we've done it in Sector 3. So here we go now, trying down the inside. It's oh so close on the front right to the rear left tyre of Gasly there, and for now, he's staying ahead, but maybe that's a good thing, as we can maybe try and tuck in, perhaps, for this next right-hander. We get close, but not close enough to make any sort of move on the flat-out right-hander there. I have a little look on the outside of the next right-hander, but much like previously was seeing the Grand Prix, I just can't make a move on that right-hander. We have to stick behind now and just see how it goes, basically. So for now, we march on and just can't make an overtake on Gasly. So Is this another sign? Once again, like Canada, Gasly's going to frustrate me and not allow me to pass and chase after Alonso. We'll have to see. But Leclerc now comes in for an early pit stop, a second pit stop before the rain even comes down, because he was on a set of ultras. Very surprisingly, Leclerc pit under the safety car for another set of ultras. So now that means it's released Alonso into the race lead on super softs. Gasly P2 on super softs. I'm on soft tyres. So at this point in the Grand Prix, I am praying that Alonso and Gasly are going to come in for a pit stop, just like Leclerc, before the rain comes down. Otherwise, somehow, Alonso is just magically being gifted the lead of the Grand Prix, because Leclerc and my team have not done a great strategy here, because Leclerc's pit early and pit before the intermediates for another set of tyres. He should have really come onto super softs under the safety car, but for some reason he just chose to go onto ultras. I think he maybe overcalculated how much speed he would have, because you can see here it is very overcast now on lap 16, and Alonso and Gasly look like they're very much staying out until the intermediates are due, which is not great news for me, not great news for Alfa Romeo as a team in the championship fight as well. The constructors, you can see here the Mercedes car and the other Renault of Hamilton come in, and so Leclerc will gain 2 free positions there and get back up into P4 here, but Alonso still stays out, Gasly still stays out. So although Hamilton and Verstappen make a very late pit stop onto another set of super soft tyres, you've got to say this is a very, very late pit stop, because it's completely overcast. You would say the rain is pretty much on its way, but unlike Hamilton, Alonso, he's here and he's staying out in first place, as well as Gasly. And you can see now onto lap 17, 10 laps to go in this Grand Prix, and we're getting held up by Lance Stroll here now, a blue flag car, and I think the rain is just about starting to fall perhaps as we overtake the blue flag car, and that's not helping our situation, because Gasly has waltzed away from us and has got a few seconds on us, so we're nowhere near P2, let alone P1 of Alonso there. You can just about see him on the mini-map on the left-hand side there. He's just gone off the mini-map, and that's how much of a gap he's got. So right now, it's not looking great. It looks like Alonso, basically Leclerc and my team have gifted Alonso a very comfortable race lead and win potentially here, as now the rain fully has come down. It's very hard to get any sort of grip right now on these tyres, and pretty much impossible to drive, so we're just tiptoeing around DRS disables, and so you would say Alonso, Gasly, myself and Leclerc all going to pit this lap, and so there you go. Once the intermediates are on, it's going to be Alonso in the lead, Gasly second place, myself third. It's going to be as it is right now. There's not going to be any kind of, surprise pit stop for Alonso or Gasly, I would guess. And so it's going to be, we're up against it basically. It's going to be us against the world, because right now the gap to Gasly and Alonso is huge. And obviously you guys know from previous experience, my pace in intermediates isn't exactly electrifying compared to AI. So it's going to be very, very tough, and I don't see how we're going to stop Alonso winning this Grand Prix and for us to be any further than P3. So this might be another calamity in terms of losing a lot of points to Alonso in the championship, as we just about managed to wrestle the car through to the pit lane entry. And even worse for our team is Leclerc behind me is not going to come in double stack. He's going to continue on and go on for another lap on dry tyres. So it really has not been a great few lap sequences at the French Grand Prix for Alfa Romeo Racing here. So we're now for our pit stop for the intermediates. Gasly's already onto those inters and is down the pit lane exit, so we're going to have a bit of a gap to try and close up here. I'm just going to have to hope that the Red Bull Honda maybe is not too good in the rain compared to my car, but what am I saying? The Red Bull has historically always been great in the wet, but obviously this is career mode, so at the moment our car technically is better on paper, and maybe the downforce will kick in here for us. I don't know, we'll see about that, but for now it's not looking great. We're out in P4, we'll be P3 eventually, but look at this. This is just an embarrassment then for our team really, as Leclerc is out there on dry tyres in first place, going to get overtaken by Alonso on intermediates, and so that'll be Alonso making an actual legit overtake for first place in this Grand Prix. They're not just being gifted by a pit stop, he will literally overtake Leclerc for the race lead then. And look at him, Leclerc is literally on an ice rink, and this is just not great. I don't know what he's decided or what the team's decided, but it's just a bit of a calamity here, so this is not a great day in the office for Alfa Romeo Racing here, I gotta say. As we move on to lap 21 then, we've got 6 laps remaining. We're actually a little bit closer to Gasly than we were initially, so Gasly has gone a little bit slow in this opening start to this intermediate stint, so there maybe is a tiny bit of hope, and I'm actually feeling pretty okay. At this stage the car was actually feeling pretty silky smooth in Sector 1 at least, maybe not so in Sector 3, but Sector 1 I was feeling good and I could gain some time. Speaking about Sector 1, Leclerc makes a nice overtake on the Mercedes car there to get him, and now he's going to chase after the lap car, the Williams car, but Leclerc also running some good pace in Sector 1, so maybe that's something that we can work on, maybe just use Sector 1 to close up on Gasly. And also down the main straight, we've got some good straight line speed obviously compared to that Red Bull Honda car as well. The Alfa Romeo, the Ferrari engine in the back of Alfa Romeo obviously is one of the strongest engines on the grid still from last last season, really, Season 7. And actually, as we move on to lap 24, we've got some blue flags, some lap cars here, and it massively slows down Gasly there. Bottas doing me an absolute favour. Thank you very much, my man, as Gasly really got held up into turns 1 and 2. And so we are closing up in Sector 1 once again. So there he is. And if DRS was enabled, we would be within DRS. Obviously, it's not. But that just gives us an indication that we are closing up. So we could still make an overtake and get up into second place and try and limit the damage of having Alonso win the Grand Prix from, instead of getting 10 points on us, having 7 points on us. So this would be ideal, at least, the best we can do. I can't catch Alonso now for the race win. The least I can do is try and limit the damage and get second place here now. But that's obviously very much easier said than done, because we're getting close, but we're not getting close enough quite now. We can't get the exit we need over here on the right hand to take a bit more curbing there and going wide on the right, then getting the power on a little bit earlier. And so we might have a bit of a run here. Overtake mode, Rich Mix, and get in the slipstream there. Our car is very slippery in a straight line. So here we go. We are gaining and gaining. Is it going to be enough to make a move? We're going to go for one down the inside. But Gasly cuts across us there to the apex. And we just can't make a move. And in the end, after the apex, we're actually far away from Gasly because we also get a lot of oversteer there. You can see controlling the car. It wobbles from right to left. And so we just about keep it in a straight line. And so that's how tricky these conditions are. And so that might be one of our last chances to make an overtake, because it is lap 25-6. And we're literally on the last few laps now in this Grand Prix. But another lapped car is there. It's Sergio Perez this time. The other Force India. The Force Indians are really helping him out now this race. And so Perez is going to be very awkward. And he's going to park under the apex. And he also nearly holds me up there. We nearly have a crash. Holds both me and Gasly up. So we're right close again. Right up the gearbox of Gasly. We can see the rain light very clearly. But I just can't get the exit this time round. We didn't take too much curbing that time round, and so we can't make a move on that lap, and so we're going to have to wait until maybe the last lap of the Grand Prix here. Again, in Sector 1, the car feeling very good and strong, getting close to Gasly, but then on this next right-hander, I just can't get the power down now. Some tyre wears kicking in as well, and the rain is coming down stronger and stronger. Remember, the symbol on the strategy screen did say it was going to be full wet by the very end of this Grand Prix, so I think the rain is coming down still quite enough where the track is getting worse and worse. At least it feels like that way for me on this last lap, and so we're nowhere near Gasly now into this same corner where we tried to make an overtake, and now we're moving to Sector 3, where obviously Gasly's been very strong. He made that amazing move down the inside of me on that right-hander that surprised the hell out of me earlier on the Grand Prix, so I just don't see us getting this. And so, like I said, it's a bit of a disaster. That's the only way I can say it. Disaster, calamity, horrendous Grand Prix in terms of, you know, Leclerc was leading the Grand Prix. He was from pole and leading it to now he's in P4 behind me. It just isn't good enough. We need to be converting these wins, these poles. We need to be converting a pole like that into a win. And we need to, if we're in a situation like that where my teammate can help me out of taking points away from Alonso, we need to make sure that can actually be booked in. And now somehow it's turned into me losing 10 points to Alonso as Alonso wins the French Grand Prix and we come home in only P3. And so the championship is getting bigger and bigger in the way for Alonso.
Nice work. You did well today. I think the boss will be happy with that one.
It was a magnificent race and a drive right out of the top draw to take the win for Renault. Anthony, what do you think made the difference here?
Well, they clearly have a car that comes alive in the kind of conditions we were dealing with today. It's a very balanced package in the wet, and what that means is that the drivers have confidence to attack. And having that confidence gets you on the power earlier, it lets you brake later, and can put you a long way up the road.
So 25 points to Fernando Alonso, 15 to me, and so that's a big 10-point swing to Alonso and his championship fight in the drivers' standings, and so that's going to be a fairly large lead there. You know, like I said, relative terms, the lead he had was already quite big. You know, if you really compare it to how the championships have gone down in previous seasons, this is now massive. Like, this is bigger than Alonso ever had, I think, back in Season 3 when I was his teammate at McLaren, when we were both at McLaren. I think the lead never got this big between both of us here, so this is a bit of a dire situation. We need to, you know, it's kind of like Azerbaijan all over again. We need to somehow break this momentum and win at least one race, or, you know, maybe a couple in a row now to break that swing that he's got. And the constructors as well, Renault doing a great job to maintain that lead against us. At least we're still in second place ahead of Red Bull Honda. But yeah, I think next episode some more upgrades maybe coming our way, because we can spend some now with the extra resource points we've got to finish off the chassis side of things. We need to really buck up, and, you know, if we can't win the next episode, we need to at least beat Alonso and get some points back, because otherwise he's going to start really properly running away with it. and that's something I just obviously don't want, obviously, because we're now getting through to nearly the halfway stage of the season, nearly. I think we're three races off right from halfway, so I don't want this to get away from us already this early on in the season. So we are going to spend some resource points. We've got those extra points from Alfa Romeo, and so we're going to finish off the chassis side of the tree. That will obviously take a further 2 episodes, that major upgrade. So we'll have 1 upgrade next episode, and then a further 1 other upgrade the following episode for Austria and the British Grand Prix then. And we'll also do some reliability upgrades, because we may as well spend our points here and try and also improve and make sure we don't have any grid penalties later on when it's like crunch time in the season. But guys, if you have enjoyed the episode nonetheless, then be sure to smash that like button. Let me know your thought in the comments below. If you are new around here, do subscribe for weekly Formula 1 content. I've been aarava, home for today, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.